Dun dun dun. Like the infamous noise, you know? Alright. This guy right here. Nice, calm Buddha. I love it when people say, oh, you know, I agree with all, you know, all the teachings, you know, this non-threatening thing, non-threatening Christ, which I actually, sparked, this was sparked from Father LeBaron, or Baron, or whatever his name is. So that's where the idea came from. Not his words at all. He wouldn't say this. I've heard many people say, well, you know, Jesus, Buddha, they all said the same thing. They're good guys. Really? I love when they throw Muhammad in there too. Where are any of Jesus' teachings anything like this guy? And by the way, just to correct people on this, Buddha was an Aryan, and I don't mean that in meaning he was Nordic, having blonde hair and blue eyes. I mean he was northern Indian long ago, so he probably had light skin or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Race does not matter in Buddhism or Christianity. Because he was Brahmin. I think it was either Brahmin or Kshatri, high caste of in northern India, way long ago, about 600 BC. And he taught nihilism. He said, don't worry about heaven, don't worry about hell. Actually, this is an Asian incarnation of Buddha. It's funny, Alexander the Great was the one who first started carving likenesses of Buddha, and the first Buddhist kingdom was this break-off of, after Alexander the Great died. We all know, well, those of you who read First Maccabees know the story of the different break-offs of Ptolemy, Seleucids, all those groups. In Bactria, there was a Buddhist kingdom that was post-Alexander the Great in his model. But this guy, talk about cycles of death and rebirth, and even he was very controversial, saying that the gods don't matter, don't worry about a soul, don't think about an afterlife. And basically it was basically the fear of death. When fear of death got to him, oh no, how do I get rid of this? And it was just not what we'd see in the West as meditation, but just sitting, or sometimes called mindfulness. But it's kind of watching in mindlessness. It's really weird. Nirvana is emptiness or oblivion. So it's not like this, oh, it's a paradise-like state. No. So that's crazy enough, right? Well, Christ is somebody walking around, shows real emotion. You read the book of Mark, which is supposedly the earliest, and it says he got angry, or he felt compassion, or he felt sorrow, or he was, you know, he saw their unbelief and was angered. Started turning over, well, first of all, he turned over a lot of tables and stuff, drove out the tax collectors, was constantly talking to prostitutes and tax collectors, and then rode in on a donkey into Jerusalem, where people were laying palms down, which was a symbol of insurrection. And then he was jacked around to a bunch of kangaroo courts in the middle of the night, then put in front of Pilate, then beaten to death, basically, almost, and then crucified. Probably the most offensive thing, a crucified God. And it's funny because I was watching this Jewish guy, rabbi, young guy, who's not only preaching against the black Hebrew Israelites, but also preaching against Christianity, talking about sick and immoral, but then patronizing Christians by saying, oh, well, you guys are really moral and good and everything, but Christianity has nothing to do with Judaism. Judaism has nothing to do with Christianity. Judaism, yes. The Torah and the Tanakh, no, that's our book. You think it's yours, I think it's mine. This is an offense to the Jews. incarnate God. How can that be? You know, that's disgusting. And he goes into the pagan parallels thing. I heard enough of the non-offensive Christ. The same people that try to say, oh, he's good just like Jesus, where if you believe Jesus is good, you don't believe this is good at all. This has no power. I don't care. This thing, this goes in the garden or somewhere like that. It's just foolishness. Not an icon. If I start bowing down to this, it needs to be destroyed because it's an idol. But right now it's just very crappy. I don't know. I don't know what you would call that. Lawn ornament or something. I don't know. I encountered this in the Anglican Church, the non-threatening Christ. Bishop Shelby Spong wrote a book against the virgin birth, against the crucifixion, resurrection. These aren't important. Christ isn't God. That's a bad idea. All these, basically, anything that was offensive, no, we can't have that. Any of the blood or gore or anything like that. Well, probably the most offensive thing in Christianity today, or in the world today, is a virgin birth. These guys are chaste. I mean, we only hear about Peter's mother-in-law. We don't, you know, there's not a love scene in there or something, which is probably one of the most offensive things to America today, probably the world today, is this idea of a virgin birth and preaching against fornication that Christ does, and even Paul. This probably gets to everybody. This is probably the word. It's probably not don't kill, don't steal. These things are fine. People can fast till they're, you know, skin and bones. They can do whatever they want. It's kind of like a thing written by St. Jerome. He went through this thing. I can fast till I'm, you know, nothing but a skeleton. I can go out and bake myself in the sun until I'm, you know, dark and black. I can go and do this. I can give everything away. And then it ends up, he says, but yet often I find myself amongst bands of dancing women. So probably for back then, Greco-Roman Hellenistic times, that was probably the most offensive thing, and it is now again. People don't like to hear this. Oh, and when you do get married, that's your wife. That's it. Two become one flesh, have kids, that's your wife. What about the harem? No, you don't get that. Christ is very threatening. He was threatening to the establishment back then. Basically, the Christians threw it right back in the Roman establishment's faces by preaching Christ crucified, because crucifixion was the lowest form of punishment. And who is he threatening to? He's threatening to you. To your sense of self, to your false superego, your ridiculous idea of who you are and what you should be and the greatness of yourself. That's who he's threatening to. It's very funny. The atheists get very angry. Notice that it's not just like, oh, that's stupid, that's fine, I don't care. They're actually angry at it. Now, are there any Christians out there going out just murdering people, trying to harshly enforce some type of Old Testament law where, you know, women are stoned to death? No. Have there been less than a dozen people in the past 25 years that have done something hostile or maybe have killed somebody who had connections with an abortion clinic because they said they did it to stop the murder of other people? Yeah. About a handful of people over 25 years amongst 2 billion. But what's the real threat? Why do people get so angry at I'm talking about the people who get really angry because it strikes them right in morality. Not even morality, I mean righteousness and wickedness, things that surpass moral boundaries of different cultures. He says, no, you can't do that. most of the time it doesn't give something like you'll end up in hell or this or that. It says it's going to come back to you, or you know that's wrong, or puts guilt on you. We don't like guilt. Guilt and being ashamed. Well, you should. I mean, the whole culture. You shouldn't feel guilty or be ashamed. You should be comfortable with who you are. Really? People say that's what this guy believed, but he didn't. Actually, he was harsher on homosexuals, because in the New Testament it really doesn't say homosexual. Even though you can get in a whole debate: what is sexuality? Is it right? Is it? The model given in the New Testament is clearly one man, one woman, but I'm not going to go into over that edge. But just in everything in all your life, I mean, I have to be clean, I have to be pure. But what about when I don't want to be? What about, you know, on my off days? What about the day I don't go to church? Nope. You're still stuck. And see, the funny thing is, I can go out, I can, you know, sleep with a bunch of prostitutes, get drunk, get into a bunch of fights. And what I just said is still going to stand, because it's not my belief system, it's his. It keeps smacking me in the face every day I wake up. It's a hard thing to do. No, it's a discipline. It's like being a samurai or marine. Or it sets you apart. It actually sets you. Oh, it's you just can look down on people. No. So I realize it's a different identity. I go back to the true identity, to the one when I was born of, wait, I don't want to sin. Now people can argue, oh, we were baptized when you're young, this and that. But just of that seems unnatural. It seems sick. Oh, it's natural for this world. Yeah, but it doesn't seem natural for me, for who I am. The inward me, myself, me, the true self, the inner man. Doesn't seem right. But it's natural. I mean, you could look at Darwinism and no, you can't convince me. There's a problem there. There's a serious problem. Is it the flesh in and of itself? No. Is it this wicked age that we're born into? Yeah. The non-threatening Christ is a useless Christ. It's the one of Thomas Jefferson, cutting out the Bible, and it's the one I saw at the Anglican Church, also known as the Episcopalian Church. No, well, they have high liturgy and all this, so they're kind of like the Orthodox. No. You can go through all the motions. If you're dead inside, you're dead inside. If you're electing atheists who just say some nice things about God and aren't that explicitly atheist, well, then they're in good standing, and they can baptize people and marry people. Go ahead, people who say, yep, that's our teaching right in there. That's what yep, exactly. You got kind of a problem, because you can't go along with the world and do all this kind of stuff. That's my people. I like that. So even like a lot of the Protestants, people say, oh, you don't see them as Christians. And I can't totally reject these people, because they love Christ and they want to come to Christ. Well, what about the Catholics? Oh, there's this stuff and that. And same thing. They've got the root stuff. They got the Trinity, hypostatic union. They preach Christ crucified, Christ resurrected. I can't just dismiss people off of hand. I might want to. That might be my pride of being like, oh yeah, those people, oh, they're not. Comes back being like, all right, wait a minute, hold on. And that's what you keep having to do. You keep having to come back. It's called repentance. Keep getting on the right track. That's what orthodoxy is. It's the right path. You may not think what I'm doing is orthodox. The orthodox is orthodoxy. You might think the orthodox way is Methodism or whatever. Which surprisingly, a lot of them have gone off into the Bishop Shelby Spong thing. But this guy didn't teach the easiest path. Neither did Christ. And if you just want to follow your own way, you should do that. You shouldn't drag in men of old who actually had conviction. Funny thing, Christ took a hell of a beating for his beliefs and got killed for it. He died. Basically, somebody could say, wow, that movement died really quickly. Look, even his chief man denied him 3 times, and his apostles are in hiding. Nobody came to save him except some women that wept at the foot of the cross. Those women were extremely, extremely important. You have the Theotokos right there, and you have the 13th apostle, Mary Magdalene. Christ crucified. And that's the gospel. Christ is risen. That's the gospel. That's the good news. Christ crucified is basically the fact. Christ is risen. You need a Christ crucified before you can get the Christ that's risen. No Marcionism here. That's the path you walk, and it's not pretty, and it's going to offend people. And it will change your politics, and it will change a lot of things about you. Peace to you. God save Serbia. I think it was either Brahmin or Kshatri, high caste of in northern India, way long ago, about 600 BC. And he taught nihilism. He said, don't worry about heaven, don't worry about hell, meaning he was Nordic, having blonde hair and blue eyes. I mean, he was northern Indian long ago, so he probably had light skin or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Race does not matter in Buddhism or Christianity. Because he was a Brahmin thing, non-threatening Christ, which I actually sparked was sparked from Father Baron or whatever his name is. So that's where the idea came from. Not his words at all. He wouldn't say this. I've heard many people say, well, you know, Jesus, dun dun dun. Like the infamous noise, you know. Alright, this guy right here. Nice, calm Buddha. I love it when people say, oh, you know, I agree with all the teachings, you know, this non-threatening Buddha. They all said the same thing. They're good guys. Really. I love when they throw Muhammad in there too. Where are any of Jesus' teachings anything like this guy? And by the way, just to correct people on this, Buddha was an Aryan, and I don't mean that in